Welcome to Live Daf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem, welcome back to today's Daf Yomi, which is Rosh HaShanna Daf Hey. We begin 3 lines from the top of the Amud. In yesterday's Daf, we discussed the halach of Baal Ta'achar. So if one is procrastinating in fulfillment of his neder or nadav obligation, Baal Ta'achar sets in. Now, what is the time frame? What is the timetable of Baal Ta'achar? We have several shittos. For instance, we have a shita which says 1 Yom Tov. If he misses 1 Yom Tov without bringing that korban, then he is over Baal Ta'achar. According to another shita, if he has 2 Yom Tovim passing by, Baal Ta'achar kicks in. According to another shita, 3 Yom Tovim in order, Pesach, Shavuos, and Sukkot. According to yet another shita, is 3 Yom Tovim even out of order? How do we know it's dependent upon 3 Yom Tovim? We had that pasuk, which was actually an extra pasuk, unneeded, which mentioned all 3 Yom Tovim together, Chag HaMatzos, Chag HaShavuos, and Chag HaSukkos, which indicated to us that Baal Ta'achar is dependent upon allowing 3 Yom Tovim to pass him by without fulfilling his obligation. Now that's good according to this shita. What about the other shittas, who hold that it's not dependent upon 3 Yom Tovim? What do they do with that pasuk, which mentions all 3 Yom Tovim together? The Gemara says one of the things we learn is tashlumin, that if one misses, it doesn't bring his oilas re'iyah or shami chagiga on the actual Yom Tov, he'll still have a 7-day makeup period to bring that korban. And just as we know that Chag Pesach has a 7-day makeup period, you can bring the oilah, the shlamim, all throughout 7 days of Pesach. Likewise, Shavuos, despite the fact that it's really only a 1-day Yom Tov, it also has a 7-day tashlumin period. So that's the hekesh, that's the connection between Pesach to Shavuos, and that's why the Torah repeats it, mentions the Yom Tovim together on pasuk to apply the halachos stated by one, to apply to the other one as well. Now, what about the other shittas, who have already used this pasuk for Baal Ta'achar purposes, to tell you that Baal Ta'achar is dependent upon 3 Yom Tovim? So this pasuk is no longer available to teach us these halachos of tashlumin. So that's the kasha at the beginning of our daf. Says the Gemara 3 lines from the top. V'Tana Kama, Reb Shimon, who have already used that pasuk for other purposes, for Baal Ta'achar purposes. Tashlumin la'atzeres minalu. So how do they know that Yom Tov of Shavuos, Atzeres, has a makeup period? Nafgulum Rabbi Bar Shmuel. They learned it from the following price. Tani Rabbi Bar Shmuel. Let's compare Shavuos, which is really a compilation of days and weeks, to Rosh Chodesh, which is also a culmination of days. Now you count 29, day 30 is Rosh Chodesh. Tani Rabbi Bar Shmuel. Amra Torah says, Mana Yomim v'Kadesh Chodesh. Count days, 29 days, which leads you into Kiddush HaChodesh, which is Rosh Chodesh on day 30. And the day has Kedusha with respect to Karbanos. That's the point of Kedusha. It's a day which radiates Kedusha, which allows you closeness to Hashem through Karbanos, which the Rabban says is a lashon of Hakrava, of Kiruv, drawing us closer to Hashem. So Rosh Chodesh is a conclusion of a count of days. Mani Yomim v'Kadesh Atzeres. Likewise, when it comes to Atzeres Shavuos, it's also a conclusion, a culmination of a count of days, a count of weeks. And we compare the two things. Ma Chodesh lemenuyav, just as the Kedusha of Rosh Chodesh, which happened how? Since Rosh Chodesh was really a result of counting of days, so the day is the unit which makes the Rosh Chodesh concept. 29 days generate Rosh Chodesh. And therefore the Kedusha of Rosh Chodesh, the event called Rosh Chodesh, takes place when? On one of those days. One of those days which form the building blocks for the actual eventual event. And therefore the korban of Rosh Chodesh is brought on Rosh Chodesh itself, which spans the span of a day. Likewise, when it comes to Shavuos, when do you bring the korbanos of Shavuos? On a full week. Why? Because since the Yom Tov of Shavuos was generated by what? By counting of weeks. Pasuk says, Sheva Shabbosos Tmimas Tiyena. So just as by Rosh Chodesh, since Rosh Chodesh is generated by counting of days, therefore Rosh Chodesh is on a day, it spans a day. Likewise Shavuos, the Kedusha of Shavuos, the Karbanos of Shavuos, are meant to be brought when? Throughout an entire week. That's a time frame of Shavuos, because Shavuos is a compilation of weeks. Counting of weeks is what generates Shavuos. Let's take a look at Rashi, 5 lines from the top. It says Rashi, Mana Yomim. How do you get Rosh Chodesh? Minei Yomim, you count days. Shneimar ad Chodesh Yomim. V'kadesh Chodesh. B'karbonis. Which leads you into Rosh Chodesh, which is a day of Karbonis. Ma Chodesh Kedushay Echad Menuyev. Just as Rosh Chodesh is a conclusion, was generated by counting of days, and therefore the Kedushas Rosh Chodesh applies to one of those days. One of the elements used in generating that Rosh Chodesh, B'yom Rosh Chodesh Makrivan, Zman Hukba Lahem Echad Min Hayom Shu Nimna Al Yadam, was established to be on one of those days, which formed the Rosh Chodesh. Avatzeres. Likewise, when it comes to Shavuos, Havos Karbonos Be'echad Mimenu Yeha. You bring the Karbonos of Shavuos throughout a time period which was used in generating and creating that Shavuos, which is a week. Why? Varehi Nimnes Adei Shavuim. How do you get to Shavuos? Through counting of weeks. Shenemar Sheva Shabbosos Tmimas Tiyena. 7 complete weeks. So we know from here that the carbon of Shavuos spans a full week. What does this mean? If one failed to bring his oila or his shlamim on the actual Yom Tov, he still has a week to make up. So we learned tashlumin from this limud. Let's go back to the Gemara. So you're working with the premise that Shavuos was generated by compiling weeks, by counting weeks. Eima atzeres chad yoima. What do you mean? Maybe Shavuos lasts for only one day, and the carbon can only be brought for one day without a makeup period. Because what does the pasuk say? Tisbru chamishim yom. You count 49, and the 50th is Shavuos. It's similar to Rosh Chodesh, which is a one-day event, because it was the counting of days which led up to that event. Here as well, it's the counting of Yomim which leads to Shavuos. Amar Rava, responds Rava, Atu atzeres. Do you mean to say that when it comes to Shavuos, Yomim meninan, we count days to generate the Shavuos? Shavuos lo meninan, we don't count weeks. That's not so. We count weeks as well. Amar Mar said, this is actually Abaye, Mimna mitzvah le mimna Yomim. It's actually a mitzvah to count days. Hayom echad lo'imer, hayom shnayim lo'imer. O mitzvah le mimna shvui. It's also a mitzvah to count weeks. Certainly weeks are also used in generating Shavuos. V'oid, in addition, look at the pasuk. How does the pasuk relate to Atzeres? V'oid, Chag Shavuos ksiv. Apparently, Shavuos is primarily created and generated through the counting of weeks. It's a culmination of weeks, and therefore the Shavuos event itself spans a week with respect to Tashlumin. Although the actual Yom Tov itself is on just the first day, but if you miss that first day, you can bring the carbon throughout all 7 days. Interesting, we see from the Gemara that there are 2 different aspects to counting. Sfiras Omer, counting of the days, counting of the weeks. In fact, some Rishonim learned that it's actually 2 separate mitzvahs, at least in the time of the Mikdash, and perhaps even 2 brachas would be said. There are 2 separate aspects to counting. We know that based on the tefillah that we say, some say after Sfiras Omer, at the point of counting is to elevate each day with its own unique characteristic, which corresponds to the midah within a person. A person has 7 categories of midahs, which branch out into each category into 7 subcategories for a total of 7 times 7 equals 49. You want to be a second to elevate all those midahs. So the individual aspects of the midah, that's the point of counting days. And then we have the groupings. Each week is a separate group, a separate concept. He meant to address both aspects, the individual aspect and the collective aspect, the grouping, the category. So the two separate concepts of Sfiras Omer, the Yom and the Shavua. Says the Gemara, okay, we have both concepts, and therefore Shavuos is really also a culmination of weeks, which allows us to spread the Shavuos throughout the entire week to allow us these 7 days of Tashlumin. Asks Tosfos, what do you mean? You have a choice. Is it going to be a 1-day event or a 7-day event? Are we going to focus on the fact that you count days? Or are you going to focus on the fact that you count weeks? We know, we learned this yesterday. We try to learn something. And we have two options. One which gives us a smaller total, and one gives us a greater total. Tafasta, meruba tafasta. You have no right to opt for the greater total, for the greater number. Perhaps it's meant to be the smaller number. Asks Tosfos, how can we choose weeks over days? Tosfos himself says because we compare it to Rosh Chodesh, which is really an event taking place on a unit which is used to calculate that Kedusha. And therefore, when it comes to Atzeres, l'kol minuyeha, Atzeres is meant to address all the building blocks, all the elements used in generating that Shavuos. So sure, it's days, but it's also weeks, so it can have that as well. The Ran actually says, interesting teretz. He says both are true. Shavuos is a 1-day event and a 7-day event. Because look, this whole Gemara of Tashlumin is only pertaining to personal obligations. A personal Oilasri, a personal Shami Chagiga, which you missed, which you failed to bring on the first day. So you have 7 days to bring it. But nobody's going to tell you that Lechatchila, you meant to bring it for 7 days. So two aspects to carbon. There's Lechatchila, which is really, it's really pertaining to that 1-day event. And then B'diavad, if you missed it, you bring it all throughout the 7-day Tashlumin period. So really both are true, says the Ran. Shavuos is a 1-day event because it's a culmination of counting of days. That's the Ikar Yom Tov, Ikar Zman HaKrava. And then it's also a 7-day event with respect to Tashlumin making up the missed carbon. The Rashash answers a little differently. He says, look, there are two types of karbanis. There's the communal karbanis chayva, the musaf, etc. You're meant to bring on Yom Tov in the Beis HaMikdash. For that, there is no Tashlumin. And for that, it's really only a 1-day Yom Tov, as pertaining to the days leading into Shavuos. The Gemara is speaking about personal karbanis, Yoshalmi Chagiga, Yolas Riyah. For that, we consider it to be a sort of 7-day event. So the truth is, both aspects apply. It's a 1-day event pertaining to some things, and a 7-day event pertaining to other things. The Ritva says that's exactly why the Gemara added the second teretz. V'oid Chag HaShavuos Ksiv. The Gemara was bothered by this kasha. You have both, 2 ways to go. You can view it as a day event or a week event. And therefore the Gemara adds, look how the Torah relates to it. Chag Shavuos Ksiv, apparently, the Torah considers it primarily to be a week-long event. Chag Shavuos Ksiv, a culmination of weeks leading into Shavuos, and that's the Ikar, and therefore we end up with a limud that the Tashlumin make-up period spans 7 days. Okay, continues the Gemara. Among the list of karbanos we mentioned yesterday, that the halacha Bal Ta'ach would apply to, we have the carbon Pesach. Asks the Gemara, Pesach ba mikra b'regolim hu? We speak about the Bal Ta'ach applying to Pesach if you missed 3 regolim. What do you mean? A carbon Pesach can only be brought once a year, Yudalad Nisan. So how can we say Bal Ta'ach depends upon missing 3 regalim? Pesach is not brought throughout 3 regalim. Says the Moro, Pesach by Mikra b'regalim. Since when do you bring carbon Pesach throughout the other regalim? Pesach zimna kvile. Pesach has a set prescribed time. If you brought it in time, akrave. Okay, so he was yaitze. If you akrave, but if you missed that opportunity, itchile becomes pushed away. It actually becomes puzzle. Explains Tosfos. Says over Bal Ta'ach right away. He doesn't have a leeway because he can no longer bring it. Time's up. So why is it dependent upon 3 regalim? Answers the Gemara, you're right. Amar Rav Chisda Pesach Kedinaspa. When the Brisa mentioned Pesach on that list, it was Agav Urch on account of the other ones, because really, Pesach works with different guidelines. The other karbanos are dependent upon 3 regalim. Pesach is dependent upon 1 regal. Either you bring it in time or you miss the opportunity and it's over right away. Rav Sheshes Amar, I have a different pshat. When it says Pesach, it doesn't actually mean the Karban Pesach, the original one, which only has 1 opportunity to be brought. My Pesach Shalmi Pesach. It means the Shlomim brought on account of the Pesach. What does this mean? It says Rashi 5 lines from the bottom. Shalmi Pesach. Suppose the original was not brought in time. Sha'ava got lost. He took a substitute and brought that one. And now you find the original one. Hunas Shlomim becomes a Shlomim. We learn this from Psukim, Kedanavklim Psachim. Now, on that carbon, you're able to achar if you miss 3 regalim. It's a regular Shlomim. V'oisan Shlomim im ichron gimel regalim over. On that, the Bryce is telling. On this substitute Pesach, which is really technically another variation of Shlomim, Bal Ta'achar will be applied if he allows 3 Yomim Tovim to pass him over. Asks the Gemara 3 lines from the bottom. If so, then it's just another form of a Shlomim, which the Bryce already mentioned. Why the redundancy? Answers the Gemara, there's a Chiddush. Tana Shlomim habam machmas Pesach. The Bryce sought to mention the Shlomim which came on account of the Pesach, such as this one. But Tana Shlomim habam machmas atzman. The Bryce also mentioned the ordinary standard Shlomim. There was a Chiddush in each one. Perhaps I would think that this would be different. The Pesach substitute would not experience Bal Ta'achar in the same manner as your standard Shlomim. Why? Since this Shlomim was produced by a Karban Pesach, Pesach Damu, perhaps has the same Allah as the Karban Pesach. Says Rashi on top, what does that mean? Pesach Damu uberegel rishon yavar lein, which triggers the Bal Ta'achar right away. Because look, just as the Karban Pesach doesn't allow for much more than 1 Yom Tov, likewise the Shlomim, which is coming from the Pesach, should have the same stringency. Kamash Malon says the Gemara, no, the Chiddush is that although he's coming from a Pesach, he's treated like an ordinary Shlomim, and you have 3 regalim to bring that carbon. Now the Brisa mentioned many karbanis to which Bal Ta'achar applies. Neder, Nedava, all kinds of karbanis. How do we know Bal Ta'achar applies to all of them? Minan Emili, how do we know that halacha? Tana Rabban, listen to this Brisa. The pasuk reads as follows: Keisidor neder Hashem lekecha. Right, when you commit to bring a neder, don't delay fulfilling that neder. Hashem is going to demand it from you. You're obligated to bring it. And if you delay, you procrastinate, a chet will apply. The Gemara will dash in this pasuk in a way that we see how the pasuk is trying to include all these karbanis. Etana Rabbanu, Kisidar Neder. We learn Ein Leila Neder. Perhaps Bal Ta'achar only applies to a neder, a personal vow, personal commitment. Nedava Menai, what if he made a nedava? Rashi says it means Harizu. He took an animal and said, this is going to be the carbon. It's a different type of commitment, not as personal. Bal Ta'achar applies to that as well. How do we know? Nedava Menai. Nemar kan neder. We have the word neder in this pasuk. The Nemar Lahalam we find in another place, in the beginning of Vayikra, a pasuk which reads Im neder or nedava. So we have nedava in close proximity to the word neder. We learn like this: Ma lahalam nedava imay. Just as over there, nedava goes together with the neder. Avkan nedava imay. Likewise over here, Bal Ta'achar, nedava is treated the same as the neder. But it continues. L'Hashem alakecha. The extra words Hashem lakecha is coming to add elu, hadamin, ha'erchen. One commits to donate, to give his personal market value to Hashem. Ha'erchen is a set value determined by the Torah. V'acharaman ve'hegdesh, different types of hegdesh to Beis Hamikdash. We learn from here. Who? The Isra Bal Ta'achar only applies to the original carbon, but not to the exchange, not to the backup, substitute. The Gemara soon will explain what this means. The pasuk continues, Hashem will demand it of you. Evidently, we're referring to karbanis which are a chayva, obligatory karbanis, not just something which he himself volunteered. Elu chatois v'ashamois, oilos v'shlamim. Rashi, of course, says the oilos v'shlamim are not neder and dava. We're speaking about oilos re'iyah v'shalom chagiga, which are chayva on the person. These are included in kidoroi shidrushenu, the ones that are nidresh from you, are demanded of you. Pasuk continues, Hashem alekecha. What's this referring to? Elu tzedakos, umasros, ubechar. The pasuk continues, me'imach. What is this coming to add? Something which you owe, a portion of the of your crop, which belongs to the ani, which is sitting by you. Zeleket shikha peah. The pasuk continues, vayibcha. What do we learn from here? You have the chet. V'loy b'karbancha chet, but the chet, the delay, the procrastination, the Baal Ta'achar concept does not affect the actual kashrus hakarban. The carbon remains kosher and valid. Let's go over to Rashi off to the left. Hashem alekecha elu tzedakos u'masros. How do we see it in these words? Dakro yiseru, because really these are extra words. Abamotzi limichtab ki darish yidurshenu ukvar Hashem kasav l'malu mikra. The pasuk already referred to Hashem. Why add Hashem alekecha? Nidrash beila suyit tzedakos u'masros. Evidently, it's coming to include tzedakos and masros. Why? Shekas b'hen shem zeh. We find the shema Hashem alekecha alluding to tzedakos and masros. By tzedakah we have l'chati tzedakah fnei Hashem alekecha. When it comes to maser or grain, we find v'chato fnei Hashem alekecha maser degancha. It's interesting. It appears from Rashi, but not garish the word ubechar in the Gemara right here, because we don't seem to have the term Hashem alekecha by bechar. In any case, Rashi continues, me'imcha is a leka shikha peah. Why is it alluding to these things? Shein chelka shel ani. This is the chelk of the ani in your crop. V'chsiv be'es ani imcha. So me'imcha is referring to these specific matnos aniyim, which are meant to be left behind on the farm. From the pasuk Vayu b'chachet we learn, v'loy b'karban chachet, says Rashi, in akar b'nifsal b'kach, don't think that the carbon becomes possible. Sure, he delayed it past deadline. It's a personal transgression, but it doesn't affect the carbon. Now the Gemara explains some parts of the brayse. Says the Gemara, let's go back to the brayse. Don't delay bringing this thing. This only refers to the original carbon, but not to its backup, to its substitute. What does this mean? Chilufa mai. The substitute, the backup of which carbon are we speaking about? So he had an oil shlamim that went missing. He brought another one instead, and he finds the first one, and he's makar of it. Now we have the backup, the substitute. It's called chiluf oil shlamim. What's wrong with that? Mikar of karbi. What do you mean? It's meant to be brought as a carbon. It's fully kosher. So why wouldn't Baal Ta'achar apply there? Why are you being a ma'id to this case? Are we speaking about a backup chatas? Well, lemisa azla. That certainly can't be a candidate for akrava or for Baal Ta'achar. We learn from Melcham Mishim Sinai, it goes lemisa. So the brayse can't be referring to that. Elamai chilufa. Well, apparently, what are we speaking about? Chilufe toida. They have a backup toida. And what happened was, the way Rashi explains it, what happened was, you had a carbon toida, which went missing. You took another animal, and you mafresh it in its stead. Or let's say you did a tmura. You have the toida standing before you, the original one. And you say, well, this other animal next to it should assume the kedusha of the first animal. Make a tmura. And either way, you have two forms of toida standing in front of you, two options. And they got mixed up. You no longer know which one's the original, which needs the lechem. Right? The original toida needs to have 40 loaves of bread with it, whereas the backup or the exchange, the tzmura, does not need lechem. Now they're both mixed up. You don't know what's what. So what do? So if you have them both standing before you, no problem. Bring them both to the mikdash and bring one set of 40 lechem and apply it to whichever one needs it. What happens if one is mace? One of them dies. You left with one. You don't know. Is he the original one, which needs lechem, or is he the backup, which is exempt from lechem? And you can't just bring lechem unnecessarily. So what do? You're stuck. The original toida got mixed up with its tmura, its exchange, and one of them died. One of them died. You don't know which one died. The one remaining behind cannot be brought as a carbon. Why? What should he do? Likrava, should he bring it v'likriv lechem bada together with bread? Duma tmuri. Perhaps he's a backup who doesn't need bread. Likrava b'loy lechem. Bring it without bread. You can't do that either. Dilma toidi. Maybe that's the original carbon, which needs lechem. So there's no way out, and you just leave it alone. Apparently, that's the case of the Brisa. The Brisa says Bal Ta'achar only applies to the original toida, but not to the chilufei toida. It meant this case. Says the Gemara, what do you mean? How could Bal Ta'achar apply? Even without a pasuk to exempt it from Bal Ta'achar, you know what? Bal Ta'achar would not apply. Because Bal Ta'achar means you meant to bring it, don't delay, don't procrastinate. Well, since you cannot feasibly possibly bring this carbon, why didn't you have pasuk to exempt him from Bal Ta'achar? So apparently, Brisa cannot be referring to this case. Amar Rav Sheshes, I'll give you a solution. The Brisa is referring to a backup of an oila or shlamim. Oh, so you lost your oila, you umafresh a substitute, you found the original one, you makriv it, and you left with the backup. Kasha was, it's perfectly fine for a carbon. So why would Bal Ta'achar not apply? That was the kasha. Answers of Sheshes. The Brisa is referring to a very specific case, and there's a chiddush there. You know what we're speaking about? You had an oila, you had a kosher oila, and you delayed. One Yom Tov passed by, another Yom Tov passes by, 2 regalim passed by, v'humam. And then, lucky him, the carbon got a mum. And he took the kedusha of the original carbon and he transferred it to another carbon. The second carbon is continuing and taking the place of the first carbon. Now he allowed another Yom Tov to pass him by without bringing that carbon, for a total of 3. If you combine both animals, the original and the substitute, you have a total of 3. But if you focus on each individual animal, you don't have 3. The first animal passed 2 Yom Tovim, but then he got a mum. He was out of commission. The new animal passed another Yom Tov, just 1. And that's the chiddush of the Brisa. There is no Ba'al Ta'achar in this case. Perhaps I would think, since the second one is coming from the first, he derived his kedusha from the original one. Let's combine the two and we'll say, Kemanda Avru Olav Gimel Regalim Dami. Let's treat it as though he missed 3 Yom Tovim. Kamashwan, the chiddush is no. We focus on each individual animal on its own. And unless this particular animal was around during 3 regalim, he's not over Bal Ta'achar. That's the chiddush of the Brisa. Hu Chabele Chalufaf means only the animal which experienced 3 regalim gets Bal Ta'achar, but not the backup, the substitute, who derived the kedusha from him, but he himself never had 3 regalim. Now this works if Bal Ta'achar is generated by missing 3 regalim. So then this scenario makes sense. But according to the other shita, Rabbi Meir, the Amar, Kivin she'avar alav regel echad, over Bal Ta'achar, once he misses 1 Yom Tov, Bal Ta'achar kicks in, Michael Meimar. And this situation no longer makes sense. You don't need more than 1 to get Bal Ta'achar. Amar Rava, let's tweak, let's modify the case, which case will work even according to Rabbi Meir. Hachmai Eskina was speaking about a case where you had an oila, and he experienced a mum when? Within the first Yom Tov, he got his mum. al acher, in which case he transferred the kedusha onto its backup, v'avar olav haregel, and he allowed the second half of the Yom Tov to pass him by without bringing it as a carbon. So, first half of the regel was experienced by the first carbon. Second half of the regel was experienced by the second carbon. Now, if you combine both animals, you have a full regel. You have Baal Ta'achar according to Rav Meir. That's the chiddush. We don't do that. Perhaps I would say, since the second carbon is deriving its kedusha from the first, let's treat it as though he allowed the entire regel to pass him by. The chiddush is no, we don't say that because we focus on each individual animal. In this case, each animal only experienced the half a regel. That's the chiddush of the brayso. The brayso continues. The chet of Baal Ta'achar applies to the person, but doesn't affect the carbon. The carbon remains kosher. Is this halacha learned from this pasuk? Achirim already taught us the same halacha from a different pasuk. The Sanya. Achirim Eimer. Yochel yehi b'chor she'avar snasei. We know that a b'chor is meant to be brought as a carbon or consumed, if it has a mum, within the first year of its birth. Suppose he's negligent when it comes to fulfilling that chiyuv, he lets the year pass him by. What happens then? Perhaps the b'chor who is past the first year will have the same halacha kipsula mikdashim, like karbanos which became pasul, which had a mum, v'yeh pasul, in which case it becomes invalid, it becomes pasul of akrava. Talmud comes the pasuk and it says v'achalta l'fnei Hashem lakecha ma'aser degoncha t'roish chavitzarecha u'b'choris b'korcha v'tzoncha. Pasuk tells you that you meant to bring all these items to the Beis Hamikdash, to Yerushalayim, the maaser of your grain, your wine and your oil, your firstborn animals, makish b'chor l'maser. The pasuk here is connecting b'chor to maseres. And we say, Maser in a nifsa mashal chaberta. Just as Maser, which is more than a year old, doesn't become pasul. Rashi brings a pasuk that once every 3 years, the third year of the Shemitah cycle, you get up and you say, I finished taking care of my masters, which indicates that you can still eat the Maser even 3 years later. Af b'chor in a nifsa mashal chaberta. Likewise, a b'chor, although l'chatchili meant to take care of it within the first year, but past the year it doesn't become pasul. So this pasuk provides a source to this concept that delaying the fulfillment of the carbon obligation does not invalidate the carbon. Says the Gemara, perhaps I can be machalik. I can differentiate between a b'chor which is unaffected by passing of time and other karbanos that perhaps are affected. Istrich. There is a need for another pasuk. Perhaps I would say, when do we say that passing of time doesn't affect the carbon? That's by b'chor. You know why? The law of baratzohu. A carbon of the b'chor is not coming to be maratz, it's not coming to be mechaper. Okay, so even if it's past deadline, it's still kosher. Aval kochim, the b'nei hartzoh nino. But when it comes to other karbonos, which are meant to be meratz, to find favor in Hashem's eyes, to be mechaper on a chet. For instance, an oila. Even an oila is mechaper, missing a mitzvah saseh. A shlamim, the Gemara says, is matal shalem ben Yisrael avim shvashamayim. It generates peace and harmony between Yisrael and Hashem. It's meant to engender a close relationship. It's meant to bring mechaper, to be maratza. So perhaps past deadline, it can no longer generate that atzor and it's pasul kamashmon. That's the chiddush of our brayso. Regardless of what type of carbon, chatas, oila, shlamim, even though they're coming to be mechaper, to be maratza, past the deadline, they're still kosher. Taisus asks, Uksas tema. It's a bit of a wonder. What's the havamina? Why would I even think that a carbon past deadline is pasul? Why would I say that? So actually, Rashi seems to be addressing that kasha. You'll notice on the last line of the Amid, Rashi says, how could you have the carbon brought ba'avera and expect it to be effective? And someone first learns like a mitzvah ba'avera, which is pasul. So that's the havamina. Perhaps I would say it's pasul, and that's why we need a pasuk to tell you otherwise that true. You're not meant to delay, you're not meant to procrastinate, but even after deadline, The person has been delinquent, but the carbon itself remains kosher and unaffected. Continues the Gemara, the last word. Vakati, but still, we have another source for this halacha. But Ben Azai nafka. We have a brayso teres kainim, authored by Ben Azai, which seems to tell us the same thing. The Sani Ben Azai Omer. We have a pasuk by Pigel, which means he took the carbon and he did the avoidus with an improper thought. I'm going to eat it past the prescribed time. So the pasuk says, Lo yiratza hamakriv oisa lo yichashiv. It's pretty much telling us that not only did he do something wrong, but he affected the kashrus of the carbon, becomes pigel, becomes pas. But now the omer oisay, matamad lema. Why does the pasuk say hamakriv oisay lo yichashiv as an extra word? It's coming to teach us something. Matamad lema. We have another pasuk which says lo sa'achal l'shalmi. You're not meant to delay bringing your carbon to the mikdash, right? As we learned all along the last daf. Shemiani, perhaps I would derive from there, I can come to the conclusion that since he's delinquent, he's procrastinating, it can affect the carbon. Shemiani af ma'achanidroi b'val. Even in the case where a person delays bringing his nether, that carbon is now unfit. That carbon cannot be brought as a carbon. Talmud loymar, that's what the pasuk by Pigel comes and says, Oisei, hamakrib oisei lo yichashav, to tell you, oisei b'lo yiratza. Pigel, with the avoid that was done improperly, you've ruined the carbon. That carbon is no longer fit for akrava. It's no longer accepted. It's a carbon puzzle. As opposed to a case where a person delayed bringing his carbon. Sure, he did something wrong. He was over and alive, but his carbon is not affected. We don't say lo yirotza on that carbon. Okay, so we have a source for this concept. Why do we need another pasuk to tell us the same thing? Says the Gemara, you're right, according to Ben Azai, this pasuk of Vahoyu b'chachet is not coming to tell you that the carbon remains unaffected. Rather, it's coming to spare his wife. Ela b'chachet v'loy b'ishtachachet. The person is delinquent. When it comes to fulfilling his nether obligation, he is affected. The chet applies itself to him, but not to his wife. V'loy b'ishtachachet. Why would I think otherwise? Perhaps I would think. Some say Rabbi Lezer. When does a person's wife, chas v'shalom, die young? It happens only where he refuses to fulfill his commitments. They ask him to pay up his debt. He doesn't want to pay. Tosfos brings Rashi and Zvachim, who applies this to Gezel, refusing to repay a stolen item, stolen money. But Tosfos himself says, it's Mashal Gemara Shabbos, that was speaking about not paying up the vows in Adorim. How do we know that affects a person's wife? Pasuk in Mishlei. If you're not going to pay, why should Hashem take away the mishkah from beneath you, referring to his wife? So we see that if a person decides he's no longer going to pay back his chayvah, pay an adorim, it can affect his wife. Interesting that the einish affects his isha. Why? The Gemara in Kedushin speaks about the fact that Noshim garner the lion's share of koyach hadibur in the world. The Gemara speaks about 10 measures of asar kabin of sicha that descended into the world, and who took most? The Noshim took 9 out of 10. The concept of dibur, of expression, of commitment via verbalization, dibur, koyach hadibur, relates to a person's wife, and if he's not careful and be mekayim, fulfilling this concept, the koyach hadibur within him, the aspect of dibur of his neshama, which is really his wife, gets affected. Chas v'shalom. Says the more, if that's the case, ema, perhaps I would say, b'hai oven the balta achar nami, ishtay meisa. Likewise, if a person just delays, procrastinates unnecessarily when it comes to fulfilling the commitment, paying the neder that he promised. Here as well, ishtay meisa will have the same effect. Kamash Malon comes to the pasuk and says no. And the Farshim explain, if he pretty much decided he's not going to pay it back, then we have that other consequence of ishtay meisa. But if he's just procrastinating, he's going to pay up eventually. He's just delaying and delaying. Comes the Gemara and says, Although it's not proper, it's Baal Ta'achar, but it doesn't have that same effect, that same severity, as refusing to pay altogether. In this case, the Gemara says, we learn from the pasuk, Vayibucha Chet, that the Chet applies itself to the person, affects the donor. V'lo yibishta Chet does not apply to his wife. Okay, let's do a quick chazor of today's daf. So what did we learn today? We learned about the concept of tashlumin when it comes to the karbanos of shvuos. We have either the source in the fact that the pasuk mentions the 3 Yom Tovim together. By doing so, the Torah was makish chag shvuos l'chag matzos to apply the concept of tashlumin to shvuos as well. Or we had the limud from Tani Rabbi Bar Shmuel, just as the Zman of Korban by Rosh Chodesh takes place throughout one day, because Rosh Chodesh is created by counting of days. Likewise, when it comes to Shavuos, since Shavuos is generated by counting of weeks, the Kedusha and the Karbonis of Shavuos span a 7-day period in reference to Tashlumin if you missed the first day. We mentioned that Pesach has the concept of Baal Ta'achar, pertaining to 3 regalim. The Gemara assumes it's not the original one, because the original Korban Pesach cannot be brought past the Yudal B'Nisan time. So we have 2 Tirutzim. Rav Chizah says, you're right, Pesach has a different time frame. When the Mishnah, when the Brisa mentioned Pesach has 3 regalim, Kedei Naspa was just on account of the others, because really Pesach generates Baal Ta'achar right away. According to Rav Sheshes, speaking about the Shalmei Pesach, and the Chiddush is, we treat it like an ordinary shlomim, which allows for 3 regalim. We had a brisa that explained the pasuk, which provided a source. We see Baal Ta'achar applies itself to all those various commitments. We had some miyutim, some exemptions in this brisa, hu v'lo chilufav, which the Gemara interpreted to mean that he had a carbon which got a mum, and was switched into another carbon. We don't combine the 2 carbonates when it comes to Baal Ta'achar. We also learned about the fact that only the person that gets affected, there's no psul on the carbon itself. And finally, according to Ben Azai, this pasuk was actually coming to tell you, all the best to you and much atzlacha.